All right, so this is the big ideas of chapter 4. We're going to look at the Freehold Society in New England. So what this is referring to is that farm families where the husband is the head of the household, the wife is deemed the helpmate, their job is motherhood and taking care of the home and the husband, and there's several restrictions on different family members and their roles. Okay. This is the time period when gender distinctions regarding roles inside and outside the family and home kind of emerge. This is an example of Prudence Punderson. And if you notice on the right is the birth being taken care of by the mammy. Then you go to married life, and then you go to death. So that's just kind of the timeline of a woman's life. Not much more exciting going on in the middle there. All right, in New England's Freehold Society, there's the inheritance issue again, right? So there's the first generation get land ownership. Children, oftentimes indentured servant status, was their opportunity to get in with a wealthier family. Opportunity for land was really not for everybody. So we're going to exchange kind of land for marriage. So arranged marriages are going to be kind of a thing during this time. All right, so something to remember is that when you get married, women give up all legal ownership of everything to the husband. So anything they ever earn, make, create belongs to the husband. This includes any labor as well as children. Again, just to kind of point out, the gentleman wearing the red coat is essentially what most of the colonials were wearing this time, including the Pilgrims off of the Mayflower. All right, so continuing with the Freehold Society, they are going to turn into a crisis because remember, the eldest gets the land, everybody else is kind of left just there. There's arranged marriages are the only way that things are working. But eventually, if the land is taken and we can't divvy it up, then there's a problem there, okay? So we're having rapid increases in family size, meaning that there's less ability for passing on any inheritance. So arranged marriages are going to begin to break down because there's nothing for the exchange of the wife. Premarital sex is actually going to increase, and it's going to lead to an urgency in marriage. So this is going to leave some families using birth control, okay? And many are going to start petitioning for more land in order to get more crops. So New England is going to become a livestock colony. They're going to be really big into salting meats because, again, they don't have a bunch of land to go farm. These family members who are not the oldest have to figure out some way to make a living, all right? The other thing they're going to do is they're going to have this thing called a household mode of production, which is families are going to do some sort of labor and they're going to exchange it for goods. So we're going to weave and spin products. We're going to exchange it and get some meat or some potatoes from another person in the village or shoes. So. All right, so there's going to be this diversity amongst the colonies. So in the middle colonies, there's going to be this growth, but there's also going to be some conflict that comes with it. So in New York, you're going to be granted some land leases. They're going to have the right to sell this land to the next tenant. All right, but the idea is that over time, the land is going to get smaller. It's going to be smaller farmsteads. It's going to be more expensive to get. Again, we're just limiting the amount of land for people. And the Quaker colonies, they're going to have their own issue. So we're going to have this huge influx of migrants, and they're going to start squatting on land, which is going to leave the Penn family to institute something called the walking purchase, which is something they're going to make a deal with the natives. So what's going to happen is they're going to, however far they can walk in a 24-hour period, that's the land that they can buy from the natives, except they're going to rig the system. So one guy is going to start out walking, but then there's going to be several already far out into the expanse of the land, so that at the end of 24 hours, it looks like they went a really long distance, but in reality, they did not. They had set it up to be that way. So this is going to kind of sour some Native relationships there. And the population of Philadelphia is going to grow quite exponentially over just a short period of time. So this is just an example of the ethnicities that are starting to come over from Europe and populate. If you pay attention to the Germany number, 98,000, they're going to land mostly in Pennsylvania, which is actually going to cause some serious problems. These problems are going to be that they're going to want more power inside of Pennsylvania. So that's going to be a little bit of an issue there. But right now, the idea is all of these people are going to be coming over. They're going to want to preserve their own cultural identities, and they're going to want to work. The Scot-Irish settlers are mostly going to be Presbyterian, being discriminated by the Irish because Irish are Catholic, and they are going to go to Pennsylvania. All right. With this flood of different people, the Quakers are going to start becoming a minority in their own colony in Pennsylvania, and the German leaders are going to demand more seats in assembly. Therefore, there's going to be this ethnic social conflict that's going to arise between them. Also during this time is the print revolution. So basically pamphlets are getting printed, news is getting printed, there's more newspapers and information being passed around. So we're becoming more widely informed as a colony. Also, the transportation networks are getting a little bit more streamlined, meaning that Britain is going to really start dominating the Atlantic shipping. Also within the printing revolution is going to be the European Enlightenment. So this is going to be where we get the idea of natural rights. This is going to be the idea of questioning God and religion and science and all these different things. The big example to know is John Locke. Okay, he's going to come up with natural rights, life, liberty, and property. And then Franklin is going to contribute to this as well. So he's actually going to have the Pennsylvania Gazette, which is a paper he's going to establish. And his big thing is what's called deism, which is the belief that God created the world, all right, and then just kind of is allowing it to do its thing and not intervening. So deism, also kind of known as the clockmaker. You make the clock, you sit back, and you just watch it tick. So with that comes this counter revolution of sorts, which is the Great Awakening, and the idea that kind of not enough of us are going to church. We're trying to bring God to more people. So what is a way to do that? George Whitefield is going to be one of the prominent people during this time. He's going to speak totally from memory, which is new and not a normal thing. And he's going to talk about the power of God, and he's going to talk about the need to seek salvation, which is going to speak to a lot of people in the colonies. People who follow him are called the New Lights because they claim to feel a new light inside of them after hearing him preach. This is an image of George Whitefield, and if you'll notice, we have the infamous dog, of course, in the bottom of the picture, but we have a very diversified crowd. We have young, we have old, we have straight out of the pub, we're speaking to everybody, trying to encourage them to seek their salvation. So conservative ministers are deemed the old lights. They're going to condemn these new light ministers and traveling. And in Connecticut, you can't even give a sermon without one of the old light ministers giving you the okay, which obviously isn't going to happen. Okay, this is also going to be a challenge to a lot of authority regarding kind of that permission to speak. They're just going to do it anyway. But out of this is going to come some of the Ivy League schools and elite schools that we know. So Princeton, Rutgers, Columbia, and Brown, they're going to be established to train new ministers. And this is also a time period of a major idea of a new sense of religious and political authority among individuals. Here's an example of the number of churches that are going to increase in the colonies during the Great Awakening. We're going to see from 1700, not too many, and 1780, we're going to have a lot. The Presbyterian revival is going to be a big part of this. They're going to be challenging the dominance of the Church of England. They're also going to work closely to prevent the spread of the New Lights. So they're kind of this this hangover of the old lights. There's also going to be a Baptist insurgency. So the idea is that this is a church that's going to be embraced by farmers and African Americans, mostly because it's adult baptisms, the idea that you can be saved by God at any age. So baptism is going to spread mostly with farmers and African Americans. And then we're going to get the French and Indian War. Okay, so it's going to start with a conflict in the Ohio Valley, all right, where the French alliances are going to be out there, all right. It's going to be a place that Britain claims, but then France is out there, so we're going to send people out there to say, hey, don't be here. It's not going to go well, all right. At the Albany Congress and having how to deal with this, Franklin's going to come up with the plan of a union, which is let's all the colonies join together as one force, and then we can combat the French who are in the territory they shouldn't be in. This isn't going to go over well, and they're not going to like it. But he is going to create one of the very first political cartoons, which is the Join or Die. All right, so the 7 Years' War is pretty much something you need to know is just like a great war for the empire. Okay, it's kind of a world war because Britain's fighting all over the place. All right, and then at the same time, we're going to have Pontiac's Rebellion. Okay, so we're kind of busy. We got a lot going on. Britain's fighting a lot. So during this time, there's going to be some industrial growth going on, all right? And we're going to have an industrial revolution in Britain, producing more goods, allowing for more American consumption. So the imports from Britain are going to increase drastically. So again, back to the land disputes. We're going to have a lot of land disputes. What's going to happen is people are just going to get really fed up. They want more land. They don't know how to get it. The governments aren't letting them. They want to move west. Natives live there. Nobody's supporting them. And so you're going to get the Paxton Boys, which is a group of Scotch-Irish gentlemen that are going to move out westward. They're going to massacre a group of Indians. And then you're going to also get the regulators in South Carolina. So they're also going to move out west, and they're going to be looking for greater political rights and fair taxes. So there's a lot of conflicts with governments. There's a lot of seeking out new lands. There's a lot of this tension that's already happening, in addition to the French and Indian War. So this is a busy time.